Cascade School District Board of Directors will now convene in the district office boardroom and via Zoom. The laws governing Board of Education require that their work be done where the public can observe their actions. Please remember this is the board's meeting for the public to observe. Others may participate only with the approval of the board. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and we have somewhere over there a visitor's guest list. Has anyone not signed the visitor's guest list? Fabulous. Thank you very much. Number 2 is approval of the, hang on. First is the approval of the executive session meeting from March 10th, 2025.
I move to approve the executive session of the March 10th, 2025 school board minutes.
It's been moved. Oh,
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Nope. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Minutes regarding the regular board meeting of March 10th, 2025.
I move to approve the March 10th, 2025 Cascade School Board minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Nope. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Prioritize the agenda. Mr. Drill.
I think we can go right down the line.
Dynamite. Then that means number 4A is superintendent's report. Mr. Drill.
Good evening. Welcome to April. As I put in my board report, I can't believe it, but we are 2 short months away from being done with the school year. Can't believe that's happening. It's not this weekend, I believe, but next weekend is the prom. And just a couple of weeks after that, we will be at graduation. So buckle up and get ready. Also put in the report that we are watching carefully what the state is doing at the legislative level. I think they were moving fairly well. The lobbyists for Oregon School Boards Association and lobbyists for COSA, the administrators group, I think really felt early on that there was some good movement. With the change at the federal level with regard to questions about the federal Department of Education, I think that's put some legislators kind of back on their heels a little bit. Not quite sure what that looks like. The number continues to stay the same. The governor's budget number was $11.34 billion for education, which is a good number. I think they did a good job of actually talking about true roll-up costs. Want to say that the administrative group, the teachers group, the classified group, other groups across the state, I think really felt good about that process. So we're waiting to see if there's going to be more money added to that. There was great movement with regard to special education and special education groups that are advocates. There's change in special ed hasn't happened in Oregon since the early 90s. So they've been budgeting the same amount of money for special education as they did almost 30 years ago. So that's a little bit crazy. So their hopes that some of the extra money can go into the state amount for K-12 schools, and we'll have to just wait and see. I do not get the feeling that we're going to know our number till we get to the end of June. So that makes for budgeting very, very difficult. Scott has done a great job of coming up with scenarios about what we can and can't do with our money, but needless to say, as we've talked about, right, that the funding going forward is going to be tighter. And while we are not other districts across the state or in the region with regard to cutting, we are certainly watching the pennies carefully. I will say that as we move forward into next year. So I think we're in good shape. We'll just have to pay attention to that. One of the things that affects that obviously is our overall enrollment. And for now, over a month, we are now higher in enrollment this year than we were last year. Remember, we started out a little low. For 5 consecutive years, we grew. And then this year, we started out lower than the previous year. But last year's numbers kind of spiked right up and then came right back down. And this year's numbers have kind of just held. It's kind of interesting to me how that works. But we are now about 25 students larger than we were this time last year. So we're going to pay attention to that. And I'd just like to say thanks to folks at the fiscal office and the district office about getting things done. We're in that time right now where our staff is working really hard to scramble. It's past spring break, but we're not quite to Memorial Day. So that's just the long slog. If you're running a marathon, we're in like mile 18 or 19 right now, and it's hard. It's just hard. And with the change in weather, that's usually welcome news for about a week. And then everybody is kind of loud. And I heard a lot about a full moon this last week. So I heard a lot of stories about the full moon. So that just means kids are out and busy. And I just want to say thanks to those folks. But in the fiscal and the central office, right, they're trying to wrap up one year and get the other year, next year started and ready to go. And you'll see a little bit of that tonight with different things that we're going to take care of. So other than that, I think that's where we're at for right now for the month of April. Any questions from your guys' end?
Any questions for Mr. Drill? Mr. Drill, on the student count, are we paid based on, is it daily, monthly, quarterly? How? I know
It's
you keep
daily.
track of it.
So we track daily.
Okay.
It used to be a long, long time ago. It was different than that. But they do a daily count. We added in the aggregate number over time, right? They have a different way to shape that, but it's a daily count. It's a daily issue.
Okay.
That we manage.
And you report, how's that reported? Is it reported every day?
No,
State?
it's so they ask for every quarter, they ask for the data that goes
Okay,
through
so
that
we log
process.
each day and then every quarter they
We
get
log,
that.
we log everything all the time. So I track, Scott and I track numbers twice a week at this point in the year, but early on we track daily.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when somebody, and I appreciate all of our administrators that come up and talk, it'll say in their report, there's that many kids. On the day they wrote that report, that's how many kids they had. It could be
Right.
off by one or two, but that's how we track it. So we know exactly where we're at. It's one of those things, as you guys have asked before about budgeting, how are we more financially solid than others?
Right.
That's one of those
Okay.
reasons.
Okay.
Good question.
Anything else? No. All right. Thank you, Mr. Drill.
Yep.
Next is the finance director's report, Mr. Pillar.
Good evening, everybody. My report's a little shorter than normal. We've been very active in creating, trying to create next year's budget, and so we're knee deep in it. And we are doing a lot of estimating this year. We don't have a real clear picture on many of our large revenue streams, and without having met with our bargaining units, we also don't have a real super clear picture on our expense picture right now. One of the things that we do know is going to happen is our PERS bill is going to go up pretty significantly. So in response to that, what we're doing is we're going to start slowing spending. One of the best ways to deal with a potential hit in the future is to try and save for it as soon as you can. And essentially, our focus has always been the preservation of cash. And so we want to kind of keep that going. And so that ending fund balance is as large as we can. So we'll be slowing spending mostly by deferring, larger purchases and those types of things. So that's kind of the process that we're going through. We're okay financially, but we really need to kind of keep an eye on it. Like Mr. Drill said, we got to keep an eye on the numbers very closely. Let's see. Oh, and then there's a paragraph in my report about the potential PERS bonds. And those are bonds that we have participated with the last go round. And that was, gosh, a long time ago, 18 years ago, as well before I got here, with a lot of other districts. But at the time, the bond market was more stable than it is now. The federal government's kind of disruption in the bond market and the stock market has had an impact, and it's impacting school districts and other public municipalities, particularly in the area of bonds. We have to, when we sell those bonds, it's a very lengthy process going forward because to make sure that it makes sense for us to go into debt, essentially to borrow against our future payments. And if those bond rates are too high, you can get upside down in a hurry. So it's a very lengthy and very careful process. And right now, there's a number of districts that are very interested in floating bonds. However, with all the market turmoil, it's going to have to be a wait and see until we kind of get some smoothness and a little bit of a sense of a direction as to which way the bonds are going to go. Other than that, we're working hard on the bond planning, our general obligation bond planning, and that seems to be going well. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those right now.
So can you go in the weeds a little more on this statistically based assessment bond?
Yes.
Talk to me about that. What does that mean and how does that work?
Essentially what it is when a group like, say, Piper Sandler, who has managed, past PERS bonds in the past, but it could be any, for-profit company that does those. Their best interest is when they are going out to do a bond issue in consortium with other districts. There's a lot of districts, like I said, that are interested in going into this. What they're doing is they're assessing how much debt all of those districts in consortium will need, what the bond market can absorb at sometime in the future, and then really the rates, because what we're essentially doing is we're betting that the PERS rates are going to go up north, right? And so we're hoping that we can borrow money at a lesser rate than the bond rates are going up. And if we borrow money at that way, the arbitrage is what our savings, the difference between the expense of the bonds and the debt and how much we have to pay in PERS. And so it's always a good fit for us if the bond, if the bonds are cheap enough that our debt service isn't more than what we're trying to pay off to PERS, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so how much would we put in on a bond? Let's say it was a great idea and we want to move forward. Is it a 500,000? We talking 10 million? What kind of?
It's a pretty sizable amount. Our district is fortunate in that we don't have a tremendous amount of debt, so our debt borrowing limit is quite high.
Right.
I believe the last time that we went out for bonds, and don't quote me, I don't have those numbers at the tip of my finger, but I think it was something in the range of $10 to $12 million.
And what would how long would it mature? How long is this bond going to be?
They're about 15 years typically.
Okay.
But you can vary those. That's part of that statistical analysis is very similar to our general obligation bond. You can really pick the length of those bonds. The analysis, because it has to be done in consortium with other districts,
Right.
They essentially need to do the assessment for every single district
Right.
to see if it makes sense
Right.
and stretch that package of bonds out.
So we just get every single district in the whole state?
Well, no, anybody that wants to participate in this, which is most of the districts, because like I said, everybody's PERS rates are
Right.
going pretty
And
high.
where do we get the cash for that? If it's $10 million bond that we have to buy, where do we get $10 million?
We actually sell those bonds, and so by selling those bonds, that's where the cash comes in, and then we give that money over to PERS, and
Right.
then we pay off the debt on that. So we have an
But we have to
internal
buy
debt
a bond
service.
also to get in this.
No, we don't. We're not the buyers of the bonds. We're the sellers of the bonds.
We're just the sellers of it.
We're just the sellers of it, and we
Okay.
have to pay back those bonds, and that creates an internal fund.
Okay.
It's exactly what we've been doing
Right.
this for the last 15 years. I mean,
Okay.
I've been here for 10. We've been doing this
And when
successfully
would
for
we
that.
know what our option is on that?
Like right now, the earliest is going to be September or October at the very earliest.
And how soon do we have to jump when there's an offer on the table?
There's going to be plenty of time. This is not a quick process.
Okay.
So it's going to be slow and deliberate.
Okay.
I was a board member the last time this consortium met and put things together, and that was just after 2000, I think. Don't quote me. I'm sorry, I don't know the dates, but it's about 2005, it seems.
Mhm.
And as a board member, I seem to recall the process lasting well over a year.
Okay. Okay.
It took that long to go through the process, this school district. So before any of you were in that chair and before I was in this chair, our predecessors agreed to that right around 2005, 6. There was three different times that they sold those. The first two groups, we were in the second group, Cascade was, did just fine. The third group, not so much, because they bought just as the bubble hit, 2007, 8, 9. So it's a little bit of a gamble. But what it did do for us is that a couple of times over the course of years when the PERS costs really shot up, because we had the bonds and we had a side account, it helped pay for those and kept our PERS rates, even though they went up, they didn't go up as quickly as other districts that didn't buy those bonds. So it's an educated gamble. We rely on Scott and a bunch of other financial folks to say, hey, this is a good time to do it.
Right. I
But
mean,
right now,
I'm
it's
still
volatile.
guessing though.
You are still guessing.
It is. There is a risk, which is why everybody's slow walking this.
Right.
At the hint of anything that is unpredictable, and the bond market's just been up and down like crazy in the last 3 or 4 months. So,
Okay.
we'll just have to wait and see until that calms down.
Right.
But in the meantime, we'll budget enough to pay for our debt service or not our debt service, excuse me, I misspoke, but our PERS liabilities as we move forward like we always do.
Right.
So we'll get it done one way or another.
Can I, can I ask if there's another option besides doing the bond? Is there?
Well, there is some because there's PERS has a reserve, the state school, there's two reserves at the state level. And since there's so many districts that are in this pinch right now, there has been some talk about utilizing some other things from the PERS level, utilizing some of their reserves to kind of buy down those rates for everybody and the implementation of, rate collars and those types of things. So those are done at a different level of discussion.
Right, so that's not an investment of.
Yeah, it wouldn't require us to do anything. It's just PERS as an organization saying, okay, well, we accept the fact that, percentage point increases in your PERS rates impact you to the tune of, hundreds, if not millions of dollars on the annual. So they can do some things related to that. All right.
Any other questions?
Sorry to be so
Nope.
cheery today.
Hey,
I tell you,
that's what we wanted.
golly. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. C is high school principals report. And I think that was going to be,
Tony.
Hello.
Mr. Rasmussen today.
welcome.
Hi. So you should have Mr. Rasmussen's report in front of you. There's a few things in there that I'm going to talk about, and then I have two awesome people here who are going to talk about some other stuff. So first thing that's on here, we are talking about some adjustments to graduation diploma requirements, one of them being in the science area. So as going through all of the science standards that the state has used, the Oregon State Science Standards, many of the standards in there are chemistry. And while we're addressing some of these, we could address them more fully in that chemistry components. So our students are missing a little bit of that content that comes with some of those standards. So as a proposal, our science department is hoping to get a chemistry A-based class that would be a requirement for all juniors. And that would be a high school level chemistry class. So not a college-based level or anything along those lines. That would allow us to hit all of those state standards and still give that choice during junior year of having an elective science credit as well. That could be your natural resources, your vet science, animal science, things along those lines. So still having one science class, but also requiring that chemistry to make sure that we're getting the well-rounded standards that we are given by the state. So that's one of the proposals.
Would that be A and B?
Nope, just chemistry A. And then
Okay,
chemistry
B
B,
would
they
be
could
an
choose as one of their
option. Okay,
elective
got it.
options,
Okay.
depending on that. So the chemistry A being that required component. Good question.
Okay.
Thank you. And so the second one is regarding our social studies and distribution of economic standards. And so we have Mr. Putnam that's going to talk a little bit about what that distribution would look like.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Putnam. I'm a social studies teacher over at the high school. Our proposal was to move off of teaching economics as a required senior level course. Instead, roll the economic standards, the state standards, into existing courses we're already teaching, which we found out wasn't really that hard to do. Okay, it's embedded in personal finance, US history, government. It wasn't really hard to make sure that we are touching all these standards. But by doing that, what it's done is it's allowed us to free up a lot of social studies electives designed for seniors. Okay. And so that's what we're trying to do to keep seniors on campus, not graduate early, give them a lot of course options. They're not going to be reduced in terms of the amount of credits they need to graduate. This is not a reduction in any way. They still have to get the same amount. But we're proposing to no longer teach economics as a standalone course, but teach the economic standards through our courses that we already have, required courses, not electives. Okay. And if you look on the packet, we've actually listed all the economic standards under the required courses we have: US history, government, and especially personal finance. Okay. Personal finance is a required course. Now the state has finally jumped on board and gotten in line with Cascade High School. Okay. Because when I came here from Beaverton School District, and I also taught Salem and those places, personal finance was a throwaway 4-week part of economics that nobody really taught very well. Here's the first place I came to where personal finance was taught as a you know, term-long course as a requirement, and I've been teaching it ever since, and it's I love teaching it, and it's one of the things the kids really love because it's so practical for what they do. And now the state's finally got on board with that. So we're seeing a little bit of that shift, and I think that's allowed us to say, okay, we're already teaching a lot of economics concepts in personal finance. We have to teach economics concepts in US history and government. Do we need to teach this course anymore? Okay, and through staff meetings and through talk with the teachers is the answer is no. We have them all covered in our base courses, and then you could see the elective courses for seniors. The Holocaust seminar, we're already teaching that, but we want to move it to a senior level course. The main reason is that would help facilitate a travel in summer over to Europe to actually visit the camps, Auschwitz-Birkenau. There's an age requirement. I teach the Holocaust seminar class. I took over after Mr. Macbeth passed, and that's something we like to do. Earliest would be next summer. Realistic goal is probably the summer afterwards. We're going to take a trip over. You can see there's a video games, historical content. The entrepreneurship class, that is with the CTE program. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I have to remember to stand here when I talk. Mr. Foster is starting a new business CTE program of study. We're waiting on approval through ODE and through our consortium of individuals to go through that. But this would allow a student to take a CTE course that would also be called within our and tie with our social studies department. So it's really a great unity of how to use that towards a graduation requirement, supporting the social studies department and our business department, which will be new, and I'm really excited about that partnership. I'll let him.
Sure. And then you'll see we've got a few other courses. One I like to pull your attention to is the senior 19th century US history class. It says US 202. That is a direct college credit class. I've been approved through OIT to teach that. So this is not an AP class. This is not a class where you have to pass a test in order to get college credit. You will get college credit through this class. And I would be working directly in cooperation with a history professor at OIT at the Wilsonville campus to provide this.
Where's that at on the paper that you're talking about?
That would be, I don't have numbers for it. It'd be, I think, last page. If not, I have it here.
So how much juggling of the curriculum do you have to do to make these changes?
Surprisingly, not as much as we thought. Like so many of the concepts, the law of supply, the law of demand, those fit so easily with personal finance. I'm already teaching it. When it comes to like teaching the different economic systems, I was already teaching that in government. You have to teach that in US history when you talk about the first Red Scare, the second Red Scare, the Cold War. So rolling these economic standards into our other classes, including our current events class, okay, contemporary issues, where we hit more of the stuff that's happening right now, is much easier than we thought. So it's not going to be a huge blow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions? Yes, sir.
Sure.
I have nothing but respect for all the work that has gone into this.
Sure.
If you eliminate the econ class,
Mhm.
who is potentially impacted in a negative way by that? Or, what kind of student is offended by that? Or
Well, Mr. Foster is coming. He's teaching our entrepreneurship class, and he's really much more of a business teacher than I was when I was hired to come in probably 6 years ago, because my background's much more social studies and history. even he's taught the economics class, and he said, economics in high school, it's kind of a tough spot. It's that if you make it too basic, it's like elementary, middle school level. This is the easiest class ever. But in order for you to dive in to the complexity of it, it really goes beyond the scope of most ordinary high school classes and really starts getting to the collegiate level. So he said that's what he's always run into. I felt the same way as much more of a novice economics teacher because I'm the main economics person. The negative impact, I would say, is if anyone wanted to really dive into like economics on the macro scale, trying to learn about that in high school. But the problem is, I think a lot of them, those students would really be attracted by the entrepreneurship class, which I think is going to hit them much more where they want, where they're thinking about starting their own business, getting a business license, how long to expect before you can be profitable, things like that. So I don't know. I'm having a hard time coming up with who would be the people most negatively affected, other than, the textbook companies that, sell us economics textbooks. They're going to be upset that we don't use their crummy online textbook tools anymore. So, oh well. But I mean, it's a really good question, and I'm struggling to think of who that would affect. What I really like though is all these different, because you'll notice some of these electives, they're not like college-based, college credit. These are some fun electives designed to try to get the students that may not be looking at college career something a hook to stay around. Okay, to be here winter term, to be here spring term, to not graduate early, to not take early release and late arrival, and they're here for one period a day, as I have with. I teach mostly seniors. I've got a few seniors. The only class they have all day is me. So we're trying to provide more elective opportunities for them. Great question. Hope I answered it.
You did. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions?
I have a question about the science, the change in science. So the junior year, then they're going to be required to take chemistry A.
Yes.
Okay, what about the students that take anatomy and physiology? Does that A of anatomy and physiology turn into their B of their science credit, their
They
junior
could
year?
use that, yes, if that
Okay.
is something they want to do, or they would have that ability to start with anatomy and physiology A and get still that full course. It's the joy about
Okay.
trimesters with it, is they would still be able to do that as a full, or they would be able to take just part of it for that other science.
The B part of that then turns into their elective?
Mhm.
Okay. Because I know
Yes.
they used to be able to choose between those two.
Yeah, so it would count as one of their additional electives. So one of those would count towards science credit and the other one towards the science elective. And we've had that right now as we have students who take medical terminology that could
Right.
also count as an elective
Yes.
with that anatomy and physiology sequence. So
Right.
we see a lot of those working in conjunction with each other already. Much like if you're with Mr. Brill and you take animal science A and B and say, I really want to go in to become a veterinarian, and they take vet science, still counts as an elective, even though it's a science-based class. So they already work a lot hand in hand in that conjunction.
Okay,
Does that help?
yeah, it
Okay,
does.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I did want to allow our choir teacher to talk a little bit about her, or on the agenda as well.
Hi, thanks for having me here. I've never been here. I haven't met most of you. So I'm Wendy Kivett. It's nice to meet you. I love working at Cascade and working with the students here and the opportunities that we get to have. And one of those opportunities we have coming up is a trip to Disneyland. The band and choir are going together in May. We leave May 16th and we return on the 20th. Both groups will be performing in the park in California Adventure, and both groups will also be doing a recording workshop, which is really cool. It's a backstage experience where we go into a professional recording studio where they do the actual recordings for the Disney productions. The kids learn different Disney music. And then they add the animation. There's a giant screen in there and they add the animation. It's our kids producing the music to this very, we're doing like Lion King and Mulan. And I've been several times with other groups and it's a really special experience. And then we get to actually bring that home and the kids can relive that a little bit here back at home when they were professional Disney musicians for a couple of hours. So it's a really cool experience. I'm a big advocate for any time that you take kids off campus to do something else, that you find as many educational things as you can. Budget constrained us a little bit on, as I wanted to do like 5 million things. There's a lot of opportunities and different things in the LA area. But we are going to be able to visit the Hollywood Bowl, which is a really famous performance venue down in that area. They're going to get to go to the museum on site there and then also experience the acoustics of the Hollywood Bowl and be in that venue as an additional experience beyond just, going to Disneyland. And then they do, of course, like we're in Disney, so we need to have a little bit of fun too. So they get some fun time in the park. We'll also be hitting the beach one day because why not? Right now, most students are paid for. All of the choir students are 100% paid for. And I believe most of the band students are also 100% paid for. We have 15 chaperones. So we are very well covered. I think it's 3 to 4 kids per adult, which is amazing. We're flying with Alaska. We are staying at a Sheraton in the Anaheim, like less than a mile from the park. It's walking distance from the park. We get 3 days in the park plus our experiences. So they're busy a little bit doing these workshops and performances, but they are going to get plenty of reward time for the expense. So we've done a lot of really amazing fundraising. We've had some donations. A company has donated all of our tour t-shirts. So that's coming free to the students, and a meal has been donated. So we were looking out for the budget of these students. Not all of them have a lot of money and ability, and we've been able to get a lot of scholarships for kids that needed it. I think it's going to be really educational. It's going to be really bonding, and it's a cool experience to see the band and choir kind of come together and be a family in that moment. I don't know if you know, but our rooms are about as far away from each other on campus as we can get. So we don't get to see each other very often. Like sometimes I don't see Miss Greenwell like once every other week sometimes when we're really busy. So it's going to be a really fun way to celebrate a year of a lot of hard work and a lot of success. Do you guys have any questions for me?
And when do you go? You probably said that.
I did, but that's okay. May 16th is the day that we
Okay.
head out. So a little over a month,
Okay.
about 4 weeks out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very excited.
And it's a competition or is it simply workshops?
It's workshops and performance. So we actually go into the park. There's a stage in California Adventure where they host a whole bunch of different school groups and also like different Disney events happen on the stage. And so the choir actually performs on Sunday and the band performs on Monday. And it's really cool if you've ever been to Disney and you hear that overhead, announcer like announcing different things in the park. They'll actually like say, join us, and they'll name the stage Cascade. Cascadians from Cascade High School in Turner, Oregon, under the direction of Wendy Kivett, presenting their program on stage in the parks. It's a pretty cool experience and a lot of fun and feels very, very special. So
Is
yeah.
Cascade the only school that will be there, or will there be multiple schools
There will
performing?
probably be, I'm trying to recall in the past, there might be other groups performing, but they take dance troupes and all kinds of different things. So there will be other groups, but we won't be really like rubbing shoulders
Right,
with
so
other
this is
groups.
kind of our little,
Yeah, we're
spot
definitely like
our time.
enclosed in our time and
Right.
our
Okay,
like,
sweet.
experience there.
Wow.
Yeah. The kids get to go backstage and they got to sign like all kinds of like, we will not take pictures. We will not, they get to see all the secrets behind the wizard's door. So yeah. It's
And
really
so
neat.
how did you get this lined up?
You actually send an audition tape in, so you do have to be accepted. They don't just like accept anybody. You have to send in an audition tape. They have to prove that you are at the level that Disney would want performing on their
Okay.
stage. So yeah, there was an audition process we had to go through.
You made the cut.
We made the cut.
Nice job.
Yes.
Well done.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great. Any other questions for me?
Nope. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Good luck and have fun.
Thank you.
Right. I think the last thing is just the plug that just over a week from now, we'll have our Cascade Regional Career Fair. That's in there. We'll have about 75 different businesses here on campus and about 150 different individuals that are representing those all across. So we invited 8 other schools to our school to be a part of this. So we will have schools ranging from Dallas High School over to San Am. And so they're coming to us from quite a wide spread of area. We're really excited. lots of prep and planning, and it's been really great. Mr. Potacek, my college and career coordinator, has been wonderful help on working with that. It's been great partnering from safety conversations to fiscal conversations and just trying to make sure it takes a village for us to do events like this. And I'm really thankful for the one that we have here.
So I want to comment on that
Yeah,
on career
go for
fairs.
it.
So I go to career fairs, some for college type stuff where I have a booth, I'm a vendor at them. And there's a lot of kids that walk by, and in my opinion, I don't know if maybe we do this or not, but some of the teachers, professors require kids to interview, if you will, people in their booths. And I encourage that if you don't, because these kids all get together with other kids and it's kind of weird to talk to people and they don't want someone
Completely.
seeing them talking to somebody that might not be cool.
So-
But I recommend you strongly, you force them to interview X number of businesses to
We-
make them talk.
We do something very similar. We have a
Right.
passport that students would go around and they
Yes,
fill
you
out
have
for
to do
that.
that.
And we've been working
Okay.
with the teachers on that to have that be something that they take around to different booths, have
Good.
that signed
You're
off.
doing them a favor.
And also
Yeah.
to help out with students who may just not know what to ask. You get up to a
Mm-hmm.
booth, we have table tents that have questions that you could start a conversation with
Right.
that individual, ranging
Sure.
from just general questions about what does a day at your job look like, to ranging up to questions about salary or benefits, things along those. So it's probably got about 20 questions on that
Good.
that would strike up a conversation for a student who maybe isn't sure about what they
Right.
want to talk about, or even
Right.
how to
And
begin that
nervous.
conversation.
Right, but if you just cut them loose and let them go walking, they're just gonna walk on by everybody and
Yeah.
not get the full,
I understand that
results.
entirely. Yep, we try to
Right.
find different ways to do that, and I'm always open to more if you come up with any other
Sure.
things that we can do. Our goal is to make it as impactful of an event for
Right.
all 9 schools that are gonna be there.
Right.
So,
dynamite.
all right, thank
Wonderful.
you guys
I
so very
remember
much.
last year you were talking about this and you were feeling pretty stretched. Is it bigger than it is last year?
It
Or
is
it-
bigger than it is last
Okay.
year. We,
You learned a lot
last year,
year,
we
though.
only had 6 schools here. We'll have 9, and we
Okay.
had 60 industries. We'll have 76, I think was our final count. This year, we've been working a lot with safety and transportation in the junior high and communication, because we're actually gonna have a 100-foot tall crane in our bus loop for students, and we'll have everybody ranging from Turner Fire to, oh goodness, we have Silverton Hospital coming for part of this. There's a just wide variety of individuals that will be present. Riverbend Materials is bringing 2 big semi-truck trailers. And so, with virtual workplace simulators. So it is a lot, but I will say what's great about it is we've partnered up with the Willamette ESD and their team combined with ours. We have volunteers that are coming from our adult transition program to help make sure that industries know where things are. They have a list of frequently asked questions, the student volunteer list. I mean, everybody ranging from body development classes that are putting down the mats and helping move tables to adult transition program that's helping tell people where refreshments are. I think the big difference is that this year it's been asking for help a lot more, which has been very helpful. Imagine that, asking for help would be
Yeah.
helpful. So it's been fun. Right, but I look forward to next month at my board report where I'm up here talking to you all about it.
Yeah.
All right,
Wonderful.
thank you all.
Good
Thank you.
job.
All right, moving on is 4D. We've got junior high principals report. Ms. Lidday.
Good evening. You have my report and I just want to thank you, number one, for the continuation of outdoor school. I don't know how many years we've been doing it, but since I've been here, we've been going to Camp Tadmore, and I know that's the location we were going to well before I came. And last week we took over 206 kiddos up there out of our 216. The first day here, we had probably 14 kiddos who were like, well, I'm not really sure I want to go. And by Tuesday, 4 of those had turned in their permission slips and applications and everything, and they were on the bus ready to go because they realized they were missing out on something special. They are long days. It's not like what some of our kiddos might have done clear back in the day where they spent the night. Now they are long days. They leave at 8:15 in the morning and they're getting home at 8:45 at night, and they are exhausted, but it is an amazing opportunity. Catherine Illian does a great job of recruiting high schoolers and former students to be our outdoor school leaders. We have 2 high schooler college age kiddos per bus, and they lead them up singing songs and they bring them back singing songs. And those of you who had 6th graders up there, they're probably still singing songs. I heard them just this morning right next door belting out about Herman is the worm. So if you don't know the song, ask, because they know it well. And then I also wanted to brag about Wendy Hibbett, who I didn't know was going to be here, but she and Allie Greenwell are truly phenomenal people who lead our music programs. They bring kiddos who really have 0 to minimal amount of music knowledge and bring them to having the ability to perform in front of people. And then their goal is to hook these kids so much that they love it, that they keep them all the way through high school, which is such a unique difference than most of us. I mean, I taught sixth grade, and while they might have loved me as sixth graders, they weren't going to stay with me for forever. So these women have to have an amazing talent to hook these kiddos to love what they're doing and hope that down the road they're going to want to participate in the electives with them, because there's so many other enticing electives out there. They have to find a way to appease these kiddos to want to stick with it for the long haul. And so they are amazing. And I've been in the band room, I don't know how many times. And if you've watched How the Grinch Stole Christmas with all the hoo-hoos, you know, playing all those different instruments, the first couple weeks, it is totally like that with especially the sixth graders. And there is, you name the instrument, the kids are honking and tooting and everything. And oh my gosh, her patience is phenomenal. And she manages to bring them to the ability to actually play songs that are recognizable to most of us. And she can stop a group and both of them have the ability to wait, that doesn't quite sound right, and model it and regroup and start over again. And it's true, they are truly amazing women. And I don't know how they can do it and keep their sanity, quite honestly. It's like kindergartners that are on steroids and big and huge and, you know, outrageous. So they're pretty women, phenomenal women. And I encourage you, I included their choir and concert dates. The choir date is the 27th, and it's junior high through high school, and band is the 22nd. And it's the same thing, junior high through high school. And it's pretty cool to see where they came from and where they're going to make it. So if you have the opportunities, swing on by. Also promotion, if you wanted to watch eighth graders walk across that stage, because it's a big deal, that is June 11th. So we would love to have you there too. Any questions?
Where is the concerts at? The auditorium?
It's in the auditorium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the first trimester, they split. Choir does one day, band does one day. And then the middle concert, they do just junior high and then just high school. So you get the combination of both, but then they'll bring it back to just each individual subject, but it's pretty cool. Yeah.
So I want to talk about karaoke that she's doing in her
Oh, yeah.
class. So that sounds like some type of a fundraiser where like you could do fundraising to get teachers to sing whole songs or
Oh,
superintendents to get up and sing whole songs.
That would be great.
I think that's a
Yes.
fabulous
Kids
idea.
love it,
There's so many
regardless of their
candidates.
abilities. They love to go in, you know, yeah.
Start with board
Do any of the
members.
teaching staff get in there?
Not that we've seen, but it would
Elementary
be
administrators.
phenomenal. Yes.
I think
to-
that's something
Yes,
we ought to look
and
at.
actually there are quite a few staff members
On a full
who
exemption
have
for
some
board
pretty good
members, but not
talent.
be involved on any level, but I think it's fabulous if we promote that a little bit.
Well, you know, we do have a bit of a famous singer in the room.
Oh, is that right?
in Our Almsville principal. So I'm just saying,
Would be who?
our Almsville principal is sitting right
Yeah.
there. Mr. Mincer sang multiple times in high school because I'm, you know, I can say that I was there as the administrator multiple times and did really well. So there were females swooning. I'll just put it that way.
Wow. Nice. That's
good. Yeah.
Oh, no,
I
no,
thought I heard you
Oh,
say
no.
the superintendent. So, you know,
We've
right
just
back at you,
begun.
brother.
Isn't that a
Are you-
song? We've only just begun.
Are you willing to give us a little sample, just a tiny one? No, no can do. Not happening. All
His
right.
report's coming.
Oh,
His report's coming.
What's that?
His report's coming. So
Oh, there you go. All right,
Yes.
perfect. Any other questions? No? All right,
Great,
thank you very much. All right, now we've got, no, that was junior high, sorry. Almsville Elementary Assistant Principal's Report.
Oh, I was gonna say. gosh.
Ms. Mitchell, hello.
Thank you all for having me and hope you're having a good evening. You have my report in front of you and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about it. Today, I really wanted to talk about the student engagement we've been really working hard on this year. We have our news crew, which is a group started by one of our fifth grade teachers last year, where they work on a school newspaper and they meet regularly and organize that. And we've got comic strip writers, we've got editors, photographers, they go around and interview people, they put it together, they deliver it to everybody. And they love it and it's awesome. And they have little badges, press badges and everything. Then this year we really wanted to, that several of us coincidentally all had the same idea of wanting to do student leadership. And so we started what we call our Panther Pack. And these are our, there's representatives from every grade level and kindergarten through fifth grade, and they are the ones that come up with the ideas. So I do have a little video they put together for you.
Okay.
One thing they wanted me to let you know is you're going to see a series of them like standing against the wall, like practicing lining up. One of their projects was they wanted to create expectation posters to post in the hallway. So they modeled behavior, and then they've been working on finishing the posters now. So I'm told that I just need to click. Maybe. Okay, Chris.
That's what they always
Okay.
say.
Yeah.
Is Panther Pack. Panther Pack to me is when something we go together and we help our school with other things to make our school even better with outings. A team that works together to try to fix problems. I love Panther Pack because you can help people and you can have a lot of fun. I love Panther Pack because we get to help people in our school community and we get to come to Panther Packs almost every Thursday and see our buddies. I love Panther Pack because it's a place where I can help others and others can get the help they need and we can figure out problems to solve. The assembly. Because it's a fun place and we get to learn some like in class and we get to help out other people and we get to have snack and we get to figure out problems in the school that we can help.
What does Panther Pack mean to you?
Panther Pack means a lot to me. Like Panther Pack means helping, being a leader, and figuring out problems that the school hasn't figured out, and like helping people. So that's my answer. Being like being a leader and helping out our school.
Some of what they do is they do morning meeting videos of expectations. They're the ones that chose our monthly character traits. And so they model those. And they recently did some requests for some improvements. So they did a presentation to some PTC members and our administration about wanting to get some additional trash cans for our playground and also some clothes to help kids for kids that need it. So any questions?
Yes, go.
I do. How do you choose these students?
Yeah. So we had applications that they had to say, you know, why they were interested in Panther Pack, why they thought they might be a good leader, and maybe what some of their ideas were, things they wanted to do and change. They had to get parent permission because we do meet after school, and so we needed them to be able to be picked up. We also had to get teacher permission, you know, because sometimes they might leave class. So are they able to leave class and make up anything they might be missing? And so then once the people that submitted the applications, then we left it up actually to the classroom, the grade level teachers to select amongst the applicants of who they thought would be a good fit. And we really were looking for not always the ones that stand out that might be the obvious choices.
Right.
And so I think they did a really nice job of selecting a good mix of kids. And we did start with our 3-5 students first because it was our first time. Wanted to work out the kinks. And then in January, we brought in our K2 students. And so our 3-5 have sort of buddied up with them and kind of helping them with the process. So
And is it one student per class?
that was the original intent, but because it was new, there were some kids that weren't sure what it was. So we didn't always have applicants from every classroom. So a couple classrooms had more than one applicant. So we have 4 from each grade level. We tried to make a nice mix of boys and girls.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question on your report, special ed in Almsville. It says that we've got about 24% of our population is receiving special education services. How many of that 24% are transfer-ins kids? I know we can't ask that when they're coming, but now that they're here, how many of our 24% are?
That's a really good question. That's one of the things that I did not deep dive into for this report, but after getting these numbers, I wanted to learn more about. It's going to take a little digging because we are the elementary hub for all of Cascade. So there's naturally going to be higher numbers because of that. So we have transfers both from other schools in our district, and then we have people that move into our district.
I guess my question on that, or what specifically, is how many people are outside of our district as a whole that are part of this population?
Yeah, I don't have that number for you, but it's one of the numbers
I'm just curious if we're closer to the state average, if we peel off the kids that transfer in and take just our own internal.
Yeah.
And then my second part on that, it says students in self-contained classrooms at 40. Tell me what a self-contained classroom is.
So we have 3 programs at our school that are self-contained, which means the students need a more intensive level of support. And so they may not be their best place to learn may not be the general education classroom all day long.
Okay.
We have some students, the amount of time they spend in those classrooms varies based on their individual need. We have some that might go in for just certain maybe breaks or check in, or maybe just a group for reading or social skills. And then we have some that actually spend most of their day in a self-contained program and then maybe access opportunities with their typical gen ed peers through like recess and lunch or PE or other specials.
So self-contained classroom means they're getting one-on-one support?
They can get one-on-one. It's we have 22 and a half assistants in special education. So there are a lot of adults, so probably a 1-to-2 ratio. It just depends on the need. So yes, sometimes it is a 1-on-1. Sometimes they can, depending on the level of need, they can be 2 or 3 with one adult.
Okay. That answered my question.
And I did want to clarify. So I double checked with Kathleen today because the numbers do fluctuate in special ed. And so we clarified the number is actually closer to 21. I think the reason the number was higher is that some of the numbers I got from my case managers included kids that are in process of evaluation, not yet fully identified.
Okay.
So
So
it's closer to 21% than 24.
fair enough.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thanks so much. All right, moving on. We've got communication director's report.
Good evening, board members. Tonight for my report to you in person, I want to just do a bond 30,000 foot level discussion. And then any questions you have either about my communication responsibilities or more in the weeds about the bond, you can feel free to do. So what I wanted to talk about first is just to acknowledge that the state of Oregon provides very little funding for facilities for schools. The money that comes from the state is for our day-to-day operations. Two of the only things that they supply on just a really low level are construction excise tasks, so like tax. So when a developer puts a new facility in, they pay a little bit of a tax and we get that, but that amount of money is more like for repairing a roof rather than like building a building. We also have something called the Awesome Grant, which if you pass a bond and you qualify as a district, it's money from the state that helps you be able to build buildings. And we will definitely be applying for that if and when we go out for a bond. How do we do it then? We have to do a bond, which means we borrow money to be able to do the buildings, and then that gets paid back through property taxes of the people in our district. Now, nobody likes taxes. There's 0 people who like taxes. So I like to think of this like the good old-fashioned Amish barn raising, where we come together to do something for the good of our schools. And it's actually a pretty good analogy because every bit of a school bond that comes from the district, that money stays exactly in the district. It goes, it's ways to have money that we don't necessarily love to pay in taxes, but gives us benefit for our people. So I love thinking of that perspective. And then how do we go about convincing people of the need and making a good plan when we as a district have a lot of needs and a lot of perspectives? And I kind of think of that old analogy of four blind people feeling an elephant, trying to feel what it is, and they have all these different perspectives. And that's how we are with all of our schools, right? We all have our perspective, the thing that we know really well, and it looks like this, but it's a big elephant when you think of the district. We have 6 campuses, which is dozens of buildings, and all of those things are in different needs of repair. All of those things have different size constraints that we face. So kind of what I like to think is this process we're in right now, where we have these long range planning meetings that are happening on Thursday nights. It's kind of like if you imagine an hourglass, we are right here in the center on the most narrow part, because we have had to do all kinds of work gathering all of this different information like this. Think of the big part of the hourglass. And we've been doing that for over a year. We've done community surveys of what you notice and what your concerns are. We hired BBL architects to come in, and they went through every one of our buildings and they detailed every system and what are the problems and what's going on in all of those places. We've talked to our staff, we've talked to our principals, we've talked to our maintenance department, and all of that information has been coming into this process now, where on Thursday nights we're wrestling with all that and trying to figure out and we've taken population data and how our schools have changed. All those things have come into the mix. And now we've got to have people take a hard look at that and wrestle through those decisions to be able to prioritize what our needs are. That is hard work. And I am so grateful that we've got really great people on this committee who've been giving hours of their time every week now to be able to wrestle through all of this data. And we really need that, right? We can't just like have all of this information and throwing out to everybody in our district and say, what do you think? Because it just takes so much time. So then though, when you think of an hourglass, then after we finish this process with this group and we come up with kind of a draft of these priorities of what we see for a long range plan, then we go back out and go broad again, right? We will then go back to staff. We will go back to families. We will go back to the community and say, here's kind of the major things that we're thinking of as our priorities. What do you think? What do you notice? We will also do polling. Why do we do both of those things? Our communication gets to the people who are connected to schools, but we need to know the 2/3 of the other people in our community who will be voting who are not connected to the schools at all, what they think and what their opinions are. And that shapes how we work through this process and go through. The biggest thing that I determined from the last bond that went on the ballot and did not pass, the feedback that we saw from all of that was you didn't get input from us. And so we have worked really hard on that. We have done that for over a year, trying to get input in. We've got a great bunch of community members who are giving that input now in these groups. And then we'll go back out and do that again before we come here to you with the finalized long range planning report. And what do you think we should do as far as going out for a bond? So we're doing everything we can to make sure that it's this community effort of here's what we need to do as a school district at Cascade. The hard thing of this right now is there is no way that we can afford to do everything that needs to be done. This is not a question of whose pet projects are going to win. This is like everything is strong needs, and we're not even going to be able to hit everything that's a strong need. But going through this process is getting us to the place of getting the most urgent ones so that we have the best minds who are going at this and wrestling with all of these trade-offs so that then you as a board can make the best decision about what we do for our community. So that's kind of the 30,000 foot level that I just wanted to give to folks so that you know kind of where we are and what's going to be coming up in the future. And I'm open to any questions you have.
Go for it, Ruth.
Okay, what is the plan to reach the community members that are not connected to the school? What is the plan?
We have done several things with that. So we started years ago before I even got here. Darren worked with Madeline and we mailed something out to everybody in the district every household, not just a part of the school, but just within the map of the district. Here's what's going on in Cascade, so they know who we are and what we're about. We have built relationships and have some of the people on our committee now that we will then work with as we get to a bond position. So for instance, the Turner Retirement Homes director is a part of our group. And we will go to them and say, here's what's going on. I've made relationships with Crawford Crossing and the big apartment complexes there so that we can get information out to the people there when the time comes. We have hired a consultant who works with rural school districts across the state to help them pass bonds. And he and I have been working already on creating the informational websites and social media plan and ad buying plans to get out to the people who are not already connected to the schools. So that stuff is already in works behind the scenes, so that when the plan is determined by this group and the community and the board, we are ready to go to kind of launch that plan.
That was kind of my question too, is what are we doing? And you kind of answered it, it's beyond social media, because
Yeah.
not everybody's looking at Facebook or Instagram or
Yep,
TikTok.
absolutely.
Well, how do we capture those folks? How do we get that, you tell that story to the people that aren't scrolling on a phone?
Yep. What we can do as a school district is we can work really hard on creating really good materials online and tangible that are informational. As a school district, we cannot advocate in any way for a bond. We can give information about the bond. So we will do that work. We will need, when that time comes, we will need a PAC, a political action committee, who is wanting to help pass this bond, and they will be able to advocate. And we'll work with our staff and everything. The good thing is that as when we are not in our capacity as an employee, when we are just as a person, we can share things and we can advocate and we can do those things. And we'll be careful about helping our staff know what those lines are and where they go. But that political action committee is going to be key into figuring out a plan of knocking on doors and getting out to get the word out.
So how do you promote it on social media, for example, if you can't advocate for it?
We can give information. We can say we're putting this bond on the ballot.
Exclamation point.
This is what and this is what it will cover. This is why we are doing it, that kind of stuff. We can get that information out there. And we have good people who have done this in other districts who are helping us with that process.
Got it. Okay, but we have to tread lightly on that
Yeah, exactly.
area.
Okay, and Greg, so this PAC committee that's gonna go out and do this, that's different than the meeting group that we've
Yes.
been doing every week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's one of those really, that kind of gets the gray area. Like we can't organize a PAC, but we can talk to people about it, encourage them to start it on their own and connect them with people who've done it before and that kind of stuff. So, so yeah, if there's people even in this room who are interested in that, you can talk with Darren or myself and we can start that going.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope. Thank you for what you've done, whether as
Yes,
an individual
thank you so
advocating or
much.
as the
Yes.
school. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on. We've got the 25-27 integrated plan presentation, Mr. Dyer.
All righty. How are we doing today, guys?
Fabulous.
Good. Well, thank you guys for having me here today. And so first I'm going to give you guys a little, I don't know, kind of say just warning. I feel bad because the state is making me give this presentation, even though they've already made me do another one over our needs assessment. So some of this might be a little bit of a review, but it is something I have to do by the state. As we kind of go through, I've been talking with a couple colleagues around the state and they're like, oh my gosh, do I really have to present this again? And the answer is yes. And so there we go. So anyway, I think last month we talked about the, we went down. I got it. I think there we go. There we go. And then, so anyway, we talked about, so basically it's the integrated, integrated plan. So within the integrated plan, I'm going to kind of in this presentation, I'll review kind of what it is, what the money is used for. Basically, it's a special grant or a series of grants that we get from the state of Oregon that we use to fund special projects throughout the district and kind of state initiatives that state legislation wants us to target throughout the state, throughout the schools. Okay, so again, we're going to get a little background. We're going to talk about my planning team. We're going to talk about what we're trying to achieve, and then also the plan, what we are actually going to do, our overall plan that we're after we did the needs assessment that we've already talked about. Then we're going to talk about what our plan is moving forward, and then we'll also talk about what's next. So the plan that we're going over today, you guys will be voting on it to say if you accept the plan. And at the end of the month, I put the application in for the state of Oregon. So a part of that process is you guys voting on it. So as you guys are listening to this, if you have any questions, this is a good time for you guys to ask. Also, anybody in the public, if you have any public comment or have any questions about that, this would be also another time that you can ask about anything that we're spending the money on moving forward. So again, this thing's gonna kill me. So again, I talked about the integration plan as we kind of move forward. And again, this is when state legislation, they have pet projects, and I want to say pet projects or initiatives that they want to fund. This is the way that the state can fund that on top of the general budget. And so they're saying we really want to focus on student mental health. And so they, and just overall readiness for the outside world and make sure that they're socially, emotionally regulated. They started the student investment account. They wanted more kids participating in CTE programs, college readiness. And so they created the high school success. And they also, the latest one that they attached to is the early literacy grant, where they wanted to really focus, hyper focus on K2 reading progression and reading and literacy. And so they gave us a bunch of money and they put it into this plan. And so we kind of braid it all together and we kind of go through there. Any questions so far about that? All right. Do I point it here? Oh, I think I pointed over there. That's what it, not there. No, I think it's over here. Okay. All right. You saying it over here? Okay. So here's the 9 programs. I kind of went through them all, but here are the 9 programs. But again, the main common goals that we're really looking for here is a well-rounded education for kids. We're looking for equitable services for everybody. We want to engage the community and we want to have strengthened systems and we want to build capacity within our school. So basically we want to reach the neediest kids and we want to make sure that all kids have well-rounded education. I'm telling you, it's right here. No, it's not. Okay. All right. So as we go through, these are some awesome definitions as we like our acronyms, as we kind of go through. I'm not going to bore you with these too much. And these are just all the fun ways, and I'll go over a lot of these later. All right. I do not want to skip this next one because, okay. Hey, Chris, is it easier if I just tell you to point to flick to the next one? Yeah. Because this is kind of fun. All right. So anyway, our meeting plan. So we had a team, I call it the SIA power team, but really should be the integrated team, power team. And so we actually, these are the people on there. We had Kelly Cromwell, the Turner Vice Principal, Debbie Leday, Junior High, Marie Thompson, Tony, and myself. And this team, we met for a while there. We were meeting weekly for at least an hour and a half. I think every month or twice a month, we were meeting at least 6 to 8 hours at the ESD to go over training, to talk about what we can and cannot do. There was also different work sessions that we had. And when I say I call this the power team, this is, I would have to say hands down, no offense to anybody else if I worked with anybody else here, but just a wonderful team to work with. Because the best thing about these people up on here is that they get stuff done. They're workhorses. They work, they get stuff done, and it's phenomenal. And it was just a joy to really work with them. So I really want to say thank you to them. And the other reason why we had this group is we wanted to get a well range of age groups. So you see it's elementary all the way through secondary. Also, we have the Opportunity Center. And we're looking for a wide range of different kids to reach. Go ahead, Chris.
Can I just take a second?
Yeah.
Just to I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this, but so you have these 5 people.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys spend a lot of time in your meetings.
Mhm.
Is there a lot, are you getting a lot out of those meetings that flows down through the schools?
Oh, yeah,
And-
heavenly, yes, yeah. So a lot of the times that we do, so a lot of it, what we talked about last meeting, a lot of that team, we did the needs assessment, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about that here. And so that's where we take an input from the community. And so like the the Youth Truth Survey that we did, so that was data that we got back from students, from staff, and from parents as well. And we kind of went out there. We also did family engagement nights. We talked with subgroups of different demographics. So we did empathy calls. We were talking to, again, minority groups or groups that may not be as well represented within the community, and make sure that we're going out there and we're talking to them. Again, we'll talk more about that. And we take all that information, and then we look at our budgets, and we look at our initiatives of what we want to do, and we kind of move forward that way. Does that make sense?
I guess, look, can you give me an example of something that you learned from the community that then you got to put into place? Because it's hard to picture this, I guess, for me.
Yeah, so for us, one of the things, and so a lot of this plan that we did is really built off what Matt Thatcher did a couple years ago.
Right.
And so things are going well. We're seeing growth through the framework that he kind of went through. But one of the things that we really were learning was in elementary, we were listening to the teachers. We didn't have RTI or multi-tiered systems of support for math. And so they were saying, we really need support in math. And so in this budget, so we wanted to, and we hired 2 math coaches for the districts. And then we wanted to make sure that we were teaching teachers how to teach math correctly. And we were also looking at data for math, and we never had experts in that. And so we created a position for those 2 people to be experts in math education in elementary. And our math scores are going up. One of those happened to be Katie, and she was the math coach at Almsville for years. Now, again, as we started to go back to look at data and what we were finding, and we were listening to our math coaches, we were finding that we needed more interventions for math specifically. So we needed more, not just coaching in the classroom, but we needed to give kids more small group opportunities to really be strategic in math, and to intervene specifically what those kids needed. And so the next biennium or the next cycle we went through, or actually the next year, we hired, I think, 4 math IAs across the districts. And so now they're running small groups for math. Is that?
Yeah.
So that's kind of one example just for math and multi-tiered systems.
Okay.
So that would be one. And there's a whole bunch of different things like that. The other one I did that safety at the high school, they needed a campus monitor. And we always heard that there was too many kids running around. We just needed to be a little bit feeling like we're safe, or somebody that's really has our back. And so we put that in there to make sure that we were feeling a little bit more safe within the district.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are a couple of examples. All right, Chris? So again, as we required, again, this is what I talked about. Again, we have to look at things with an equity lens. We have community engagement. We're asking people. We have to go talk to the tribal consultations over the tribal around the area. Again, we're looking at vocal students, or like some impacted demographics of kids that might not be represented. We're looking at data. We're looking at all this kind of fun stuff here. So Chris, go ahead and move on. Again, equity was a big thing. So a lot of the thing that Oregon really wanted to push is the fact that we were not missing anybody that may not traditionally be represented. And so what we did find, and we actually did as we were scratching the surface, and we could talk more about that more, is sometimes the groups, they're happy here, they do a good job, but sometimes they feel like they're not heard. And so we're going to try to set up some systems where we listen to this population. So one will be like the LGBTQ community. They are happy, they feel represented, they have a voice, but sometimes they feel like they can't be super out there, but at the same time, they feel like they are supported within us, which is really good. But we got to make sure that we are listening to that demographic as we're kind of going through. And so again, we have an equity lens statement that we worked on. We actually rewrote it a little bit from what we had before. And so that was part of the work session there too. All right, next one. So this is the highlights that we use for community engagement, the Youth Truth Survey. the Family Resource Center, so the work that Cheryl Harmon does out there connecting with families. Oftentimes she's talking with families, what do you need? What are we missing? What are our blind spots? So these are some things that she's asking in the Family Resource. And then also we have empathy calls. So again, when we're looking at some of the groups that maybe we didn't see, we wanted to go out there and we wanted to talk to them personally and just to see how things were kind of going. All right, Chris? So again, this is what I already talked about. I'm sorry, I have to kind of review this again. But again, the needs assessment highlights is that Cascade, there's things that we know. We have strong, trusting relationships. It's all about the relationship here at Cascade, and that came through very strongly in our needs assessment. We do a lot with holistic student support systems. So again, we're really looking at the child and holistically and just not academically. We care about them as people. They are not just a number here at Cascade and not a data point. They are a kid, and we are going to make sure that we're going to reach them in a holistic way. And also we have a strong, kids really felt like our CTE programs are great. Our college credit now, there's a lot of cool things that are kind of going on in getting kids ready for the next step. Chris? That was it. I think I already talked about that. Next one. Okay, so again, the emerging priorities. So after we looked at all that data and after we looked at other things, so again, what we were really looking for is support needed for targeted demographics and in order to hit strategic outcomes, more resources for CTE programs, elementary reading and math, and also as social emotional learning. So this is what we kind of found out. And then again, we need to make sure that we are maintaining strong graduation rates, freshmen on track, and attendance rate, which, by the way, as you guys all know, we've heard this multiple times, we are through the roof at Cascade. We're doing a great job. Okay. So again, these are the outcomes. So we have to attach everything that we budget for has to be attached to one of these outcomes and strategies. So this is where we said these are our main points. And again, a lot of this was laid out by Matt. And since it's working well, most people, like if it's not broken, let's try not to fix it, and let's make sure that we're just keep on continuing to grow. So again, graduation rate of 85% of combined vocal points. So again, we do have a high graduation rate, but again, we're attacking maybe kids in special education, maybe different minority groups or different things to make sure our English learning or multilingual students, we want to make sure that they're succeeding at the same time. Literacy and math goal of 80%. Level of proficiency by third grade. And so we want to make sure that 80% of our kids are at grade level in math and in ELA by third grade. The other one is CTE, 20% increase of non-traditional students. We've heard us talk about this multiple times. Females, maybe in welding and manufacturing, maybe males in healthcare and nursing, or possibly in culinary or different things that might be more dominant. So this is some different things. And then also well-being, 20% reduction in high social emotional risk. And we actually switched to one that used to be just K-8, and now we're going K-12. And so again, we want to make sure that kids that are at the high level being at risk for social emotional fatigue or different things, we want to make sure that we're bringing that down. Right. Okay, so we have our investment. So there is a budget link there if you guys want to look at the full budget. It kind of goes in there. And again, we're not really changing anything. These are some highlights that we have in there. We have a campus monitor. We have math coaches and interventionists. A director, Cheryl Harmon, to reach out. That would be one. Safety upgrades. In the last couple of years, we have actually $200,000 just for safety upgrades. So they were talking key locks, doors, window, just different things like that to make sure that we are, because kids, if they don't feel safe physically, they're not really emotionally safe. And so they want to make sure that they were feeling safe that way. After school programming clubs, SEL experiences and field trips, Wayfinder, professional development and curriculum alignment. That's one thing that we really were trying to focus on. Professional development is making sure that our curriculum and our education is aligned K through 12. And that may sound like a stretch, but I believe in this so much. But that really brings stress levels down of our staff members. And if we have staff members that know what they're teaching and why they're teaching it, we're in this all together, their stress levels go down, and that brings stress levels down in the classroom for the kids as well. And then also we fund AVID out of that. The other thing, I know, Brett, you've asked before about the focus on college versus CTE. And I would say, or career and technical, I would say when we start looking at the budget, it's really broken up 50-50. And so like if we do this for college, we're going to do this for careers. And it's broken up that in any line item budget. The other thing is that we do here is we really want to focus on making sure that it's just not all people and personnel, because we're worried about if this funding gets flatlined and then all of a sudden we're cutting people, we can't afford the uptick. Also, if other things go away, we just want to make sure that we have a little wiggle room there. We're about 55%, 60% personnel, and the rest is for things and items, professional development. So that gives us a lot of room to make sure that we're not overextending ourselves if things get tough later on down the road. So a little forward thinking in the next biennium and things on down the road. Next one. Tiered approach. And again, we kind of took a tiered approach. Is like we have essential, this, we have to do this, to we kind of should do this, and we could. And a lot of the stuff, and for how financially healthy we are as a district, we did get into tier 2 and 3. And there are things out there that we get to fund just because we are taking care of business on the other end of it. And so this allows us to put money and activities and things in kids' hands as we kind of move forward. All right. And again, high school, when they're looking at understand success, this is what they're looking for. They actually go to the next slide, and it kind of goes a little bit better. But again, they're looking at these bottom ones right here, the third grade reading proficiency rates. They're really looking at that. That's what they want to see at that 80% by third grade. They're looking at ninth grade on track, regular attendance, 4-year completion and 5-year completion. And again, this is what the state, this is how they say, you guys are doing a good job, patting you on the back if we do these things. That's what they're looking at. And so kind of go ahead to the next one. And so again, how do we understand success? Is very similar, but we're a little bit different. And so with some conversations, so Aaron, like you were talking about, are we listening to different people? So like even listening to Zach at Almsville and the other elementary principals, third grade, that is a good measuring point. And we like that point, but we're more interested in how do we get kids ready by 5th grade to get them junior high ready? And so we really want to make sure that, yes, that third grade point there, but what are we really getting those kids ready in 5th grade? And so we're looking at a harder line at that 5th grade data point in order to get them ready for junior high, because really brass tacks, when we get to elementary, that's what we want. We want kids ready for junior high. Our graduation freshmen on TAC. The other thing that we look at is our participation rate in CTE programs and rigorous classes and clubs. Tony and Pete in the high school and Debbie in the junior high is just phenomenal. They are pushing participation rate. We have kids attending things and doing things through there, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. So good job. And if you guys don't know, Tony is a mastermind at getting kids what they need at the CTE program. So it's just awesome. So the next one, what you guys will do here is we're actually open to some public comment. And then also you guys will actually have to vote if we accept this. And if you do, we stamp it and we send it to the state and hopefully they approve it. And that's it. Do we have any questions? That was a lot of information. Brett will.
No, I'm actually going to move on to opening it to public discussion if we don't have any questions. Any questions from the board? Nope. Nope. All right, hang on. Okay, so now we're going to open the 25-27 integrated public plan or plan for public comment.
So I'm liking safety upgrades as a maintenance person. I
Yes.
understand that, love it, want to see it. My question is, it's easy to buy it, install it. Is there a plan to train staff to actually use it? Because I can go around and tell you that door is going to be popped open, that door is going to be unlocked, and just go around the whole district and probably give you 20 saved areas where that happens.
Yeah. So great question, by the way. Actually, I was just talking to somebody from Salem Kaiser and they said that the exact same thing. We have all these new buildings, but we still have to train staff and we have to actually maintain all these new buildings, and it just costs money for the upkeep. But the answer to that is yes, we will have something when we go that. So every new thing that we get is going to be a new set of problems. So if we do a keyless entry, card scanners or keys or cameras, well, like cameras, like every time we want a camera, well, and we'll probably say, or Albert will say this, I need another camera here. I need a camera here. So we started with like 15 and now we're up to like, I don't even know how many we have. Chris, do you know how many cameras we got district-wide?
District-wide? Probably over 100.
Yeah, something like that. So we always are looking for more, and it's always an issue. So again, there is some training that will be in there. I don't have money in there, but actually that's a really good idea to put that in there, a little training on how do we PD around safety upgrades and stuff like that. So, yeah. Any other questions?
So this is way off the subject, but I'll ask
Yes.
since we're talking about upgrades. Vaping in bathrooms, have we ever figured out how to detect that?
No. The short answer of it, the candid answer is you just heard it right there.
No.
No. Is there's so many things that can even set them off or whatnot, and the technology is just not there. What we have found that's really working the best is just good old fashioned supervision. So as we start looking at the campus monitor, Bob Thompson, who we talk, when we're doing lunchtime activity at lunch, and we're just telling admin, hey, just make sure that we're checking the bathroom. We're doing different things. I was in there. I walked through the bathroom just to walk in. I saw two kids in the stall. Like, what are we doing in there, boys? And then we start asking questions. And hey, let's have Mr. Rasmussen come over here and see what's going on. And because that's what's happening there. There's a lot of different stuff that's going on. So it's just good old fashioned watching who's entering and leaving the bathrooms or blind areas. And that's where the cameras come in.
But
Yeah.
the cameras can't be in the bathrooms, of course.
Nope.
So that's
No.
one private spot.
Yes, but we can walk in there, like wash our hands, and if you see, and then what I saw was one kid coming out, and you just, you know how a kid looks when they're guilty. They're like, how's it going? I'm like,
Wait a minute.
hey buddy, how's it going? Making them feel a little uncomfortable, which again, that doesn't sound like maybe we didn't catch that kid in that situation, but the kids know that we're watching.
Right, might make them think a little.
And that's what matters. As long as they know that we're watching and we're asking the right questions and doing the right things. Again, it's not going to solve all the problems, but again, it does address a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So.
Oh,
public
Zach?
comment, yes.
Shire, you talked about kind of some of the infrastructure that you put in place and some of the systems that you put in place. Is there conversation or a mechanism in the group to talk about maintenance of those systems? Like, let's say, 5-10 years down the road, cameras are obsolete. Like, has there been conversation about how to maintain the things that we put in place through the integrated plan?
Yeah, I think as we kind of go through, that's a great question. And so just knowing that this is a pretty reliable funding source from the state. And so one of the things that I've asked my colleagues around or even asked the state is like, how strong is this funding source? Like, is this going away or is this not going away? And they're like, at least for the next 10, 15, they're like, it's going to be around for a while. It's going to actually take some legislation to actually get it removed, or to cut it or different things like that, which is good. So as we start going through here, we have like 2 major projects for safety and upgrade that we would like to do for the next 2 years in this biennium. And those safety upgrades would probably move to more half of anything new, and then also maintenance as we move forward. So again, after we get through this next biennium of getting some bigger projects done, then we'll probably start shaving that down and do a 50-50. But yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the public? Any other public comments?
Yeah, Tom.
How are you keeping track of the outcomes of these? So you have some goals there.
Yeah.
That you talked about. How are you tracking the effectiveness of some of these expenditures, and then really assessing whether or not they're the right way to keep going or to change our methods?
Yeah, so there's longitudinal, like I get tongue tied, but longitudinal. Sorry.
Longitudinal.
Let me know what I'm talking about. Want to say it out loud? Thank you. That's what I say. So it has nothing to do with that. I know what it is. I just can't spit it out sometimes. Sorry, guys. I have a stuttering thing. So anyway, as we're kind of going through this, so there's some key indicators that we look for when we're looking at, especially when we're looking at the ELA literacy, we're looking at our Acadians data or DIBELS. We're looking at SBAC scores. We're looking at our growth rates in those systems. In math, we're looking at iReady. And again, we're looking at just not, again, are we doing well performing on SBAC, but also are we growing within our benchmarking and our assessments throughout that way. So that's one way we do that. We're looking at graduation rates. We're looking at, 9th grade on track and all those data points that way. In a way for SEL, we've been using DESA for K-8. Next year, I actually called people at ODE, and we're actually going to switch over to Wayfinder because they have some benchmarking tools that not a little bit easier and we can track that a little bit better. And so again, everything that we do have that way. And so that's covering the SEL. And so that, I think that covers most of the things that we're kind of trying to hit on there. And then again, we get together in data teams and principals and we're talking with that, what that looks like. And we adjust that way. Yeah. Anything else?
Any other public comment? Going once, going twice. All right, and we will close public comment. Good on that. All right.
No other questions? Hey, guys, thank you so much. Sorry, I had to take up a lot of time today.
Perfect.
I did not want to do it, but at the same time, I did because it gets us money and it's good for our schools.
We like it. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. All right, moving on to 6, discussion and communication. Mr. Drill.
Yep, you have new staff recommendations on there. We're already starting to hire for next year. So you have 2 teachers on there that we recommend hiring for those positions.
All right, any questions? Nope. All right, is 6B board policy update, second reading
Second
and
reading, yep.
adoption.
Yep, same ones that we had last month, obviously, right? And the reading of adoption, and again, changes to policy and procedure and some law at the legislative and state level.
Any questions on that from the board? Nope. All right, going on is 6C out-of-state trip request.
Yep, Turner Elementary is requesting permission to attend a field trip at Fort Vancouver. They've done that before. They're wanting to go back again. So because it's out of state, it comes to you to make sure that that's taken care of.
All right. Any questions on that from the board? Nope. All right. Number 7, informational item. 7A, staff resignation.
So you have resignation going on, getting ready for the new year, right? And leaving. So we got that taken care of on there.
All right. Questions from the board on that? Nope. 7B is coach advisory list.
So this is the wrap up of the coach advisory list, making sure that all of the folks that do activities in athletics and other advisory types of stuff, right, are on the list. It has been tradition to share that. Please also note that sometimes you'll see a sport and you'll think, man, that's a lot of coaches. Please understand that the coaches get so many slots. Mr. Rise understands that. And if they choose to share the money, right, among multiple coaches, they can do that. The head coach can make that decision. Actually, in the long run, it's good for all of our kids because there's just more really trusted adults there helping out.
Dynamite. Questions on that from the board? Nope. All right. How about 7C softball bullpen request?
Yes. So there is an opportunity here tonight, and I fully support this. We have been asked by our softball community to name the bullpen after a student that has unfortunately passed away. And so we wanted to let you guys know, normally it's something that comes to you with regard to a field or a building. But we believe that it's important that you guys at least see that and recognize that. It is something that traditionally we've been able to do, I've been able to do from the district office, but the folks, and they're here tonight, appreciate that they're here. Staff member, longtime staff member, a longtime community supporter who's been a coach for many years. Wanted to make sure that you recognize how important this is to our softball community and to our community at large. Any questions on that?
Questions? Nope, I don't think so.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And the last one is 7D, statement of economic interest.
Yeah, so you guys are running out of time, right? So you got to take care of your statement of economic interest by tomorrow. So if you haven't done that, see Jennifer before you leave. Yes, so dun, right? And
Right?
by the way, I'm done. So just so you know.
I did it this morning.
So we'll check again in the morning, but we'll be calling. Just want to make sure that you all get it done. So a few years back, the state of Oregon requires all of you, Mr. Pillar, and myself to fill out our statement of economic interest, which identifies.
Forward that to me. Thank you.
So now we know.
And that is all for informational items.
Spam.
Got it.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Next, we've got the public comments. So please note that it is especially important to remember that we all model the way for our students, and we ask that you share your thoughts in a respectful way. The board will ask you to stop speaking if you are not able to adhere to these guidelines. Audience time is not intended as a forum of public debate. At this time, nope, I don't need to do that part. Right? Do I need to do the bottom part? Okay. All right, at this time, Jacob Cantrell, is that right?
Yeah.
come on up.
Come on up to the
Please
podium,
stand
my friend.
up and you will have 3 minutes, and we ask that you refrain from discussing students or using personal identifiable information such as names or occupations. And guests are only allowed to address the board one time during the meeting. So, Mr. Cantrell, welcome.
Thank you.
Or-
Again, my name is Jacob Cantrell. Thank you guys for having me tonight. I just want to give a brief introduction to a new organization that has come into the community. I have recently started a nonprofit called the Cougar Legacy Foundation that will be geared towards upgrading and developing new athletic facilities at Cascade and surrounding schools within the district. Now, as most of that's geared towards athletics, it's not limited to. I was asked to be on the committee with Greg, and unfortunately, my job does not allow me to be at the meetings, but I communicated with Greg to be able to get that information, as there may be some things that we can help out with that with the bond items on there. And we want to basically do this for, I mean, the kids, you know, I used to go to school here, my kids go here, my entire family goes here. And I think it's kind of very long overdue. And we want to also provide, outlets for these kids and for them to be able to do things as teams more often. And we want to work towards providing scholarships towards kids. And yeah, a lot of information, but we are working diligently right now, and there's going to be a lot that will be shared in the future very soon. So, is there any questions?
Sure.
Okay, first of all, I want to say that I think the most special thing about the community that we live in is the fact that we have so many alumni that come back to this community and raise their families. And I remember Jacob in junior high, like it was 2 years ago, and here he is with 3 kids, and he has a wonderful supportive family that all are part of this situation here too. And I want to commend you for that, and I want to commend you for coming to a community and wanting to make it better and having the courage to be up there and doing this, because it's not easy to do. And so I wanted to say that. And I do have 2 questions, just looking at everything also. Just thinking about starting this, or doing what you're doing, the beginning stages, what do you see as in the athletic arena as Cascade's biggest need?
I think right now for us would be the track needs to be resurfaced.
Okay.
I formerly ran track. My kids run track. I was actually out there the other day, and the severity of the cracks, I mean, throughout the entire surface, the first, corner of that track, the roots have overgrown, and I've even, my daughter's communicated with me that, kids have tripped, and I mean, I don't know the severity of injuries, but it's just not a good situation. And we've been looking into that. We've found a few grants and community help with like businesses that are willing to donate not just monetary funds, but services to be able to complete these tasks. And as of right now, we see that as kind of our number one. And as that, is our number one, there's a lot of other things that are going on that, even though that is our main focus, some of these things may move a little faster, but I want to, I guess, convey that that's our focus right now. But
That's your first thought.
yes.
Yeah. And
So-
what are your fundraising ideas?
So right now there's really not a lot of fundraising outside of grants, and we have a lot of connections, I guess, right now that honestly may fulfill most of our needs. Now that map, I know you guys have it. I know you guys haven't seen it. It is conceptual. It's basically, what it could look like. It's not necessarily what it will look like it's tens of millions of dollars that could be going into this, but it's all attainable. And however that gets, resituated and however it looks in the end, that's going to be, I guess, a collaborative idea. This is kind of our idea, but as we talk to the community and parents and kids, that changes. So,
And other organizations to work with too,
Yeah.
that are, involved in this. Yeah.
and I want, one of the things is I want these, it's not just for sports, it is clubs as well. There's a lot of help at Cascade, and I want people to be able to reach out, whether they think that we might be able to do it or not. We even found a decent sized grant for theatrical arts the other day, and it's like, oh, that we have that. And like archery club, I know some of the Kuyu sponsors that are big hunting companies, and we're actually talking with them right now, and just a lot of information flowing. So, yes.
I respect a lot the idea that you would let your own kids put their roots down in the community where you put yours down. That speaks volumes. You used a word that I think is exhausting, and that's collaboration or collaborative. And it is, it makes all of us tired to think about how much energy it takes to not just to bulldog through on something, but to work with all the other groups, all the existing forces of nature. And I get the feeling that you're used to hard work, so I think you'll do it. But good luck and thank you for working with nature.
Absolutely.
And I have one last question. I'm wondering, what would his next step be, Mr. Drill, in order to?
Jacob and I have been able to talk about things a couple of times, and being able to work with our athletic director, our high school principal, junior high principal. The idea that we try to figure out how to do this. We do this stuff from a community perspective, right? And so Jacob knows that. He's been a part of our community the whole time, and just wanting to make sure he and his wife, right, both graduates. And so yet another person that I had in the building. So that just makes me feel old. Thanks. So that there's a lot more white on your beard than there's. I'm just saying. Just saying. Plus I'm envious that you can grow that much hair. So I'm also worried about that. I just think that opportunity to continue to figure out ways to work together. Right. We end up with people that have these really fantastic ideas. Sometimes those ideas get ahead of where we're at. We're trying to figure it out, right? So we've got to take a look, and it's, I saw the plan this morning. There's a lot of good parts to this plan. There's some other pieces that we have to ask questions, about. We've got an easement that Northwest Natural Gas has across this space. We have leach lines. We have a whole entire sewer system that we've built. And, Olin said earlier about understanding some pieces and nooks and crannies around that stuff, where the water lines are. How does that work, right? How does that go? So does it mean that it holds us up? Not at all, right? It just means that we got to sit down and work together and get it figured out.
And to comment on that, those types of things, the leach lines, the gas lines, one of the big issues with like football field is drainage. We had state playoffs, but we did not have it at home. And those are types of things that we've been looking at too, is not only what you see above ground, but revamping the entire underground. A lot of, they're looking at sewer right now, water lines, drainage, all of it.
It's good.
Not just what you see.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on, 9 resolutions. 9A, resolution regarding changes to graduation requirement.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to accept the changes to the Cascade graduation requirements as presented by the high school principal, Pete Rasmussen. Changes shall begin with the class of 2026.
Second.
9A, resolution regarding changes to graduation requirements has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 9B, resolution regarding Cascade School District Draft 25-27 Integrated Plan.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the draft 2025 to 27 integrated plan as outlined and presented by Director of Education Brian Dyer.
Second.
9B, resolution regarding Cascade School District Draft 25-27 Integrated Plan has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 9C, resolution regarding new hire recommendations.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the new hire recommendations of Jonathan Eng, elementary music teacher, and Michaela Jepson, athletic trainer and CTE sports medicine teacher, as recommended by the administration.
Second. 9C, resolution regarding new hire recommendations has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 9D, resolution regarding board policy, second reading and adoption.
Be it resolved that the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the second reading and adoption of the policies listed below. GBNAA/JHFF, GCAA, JHFF/GBNAA.
Second.
9D, resolution regarding board policy, second reading and adoption has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 9E, resolution regarding out-of-state trip request high school band choir.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the out-of-state travel request for the high school band and choir to travel to Anaheim, California between May 16th and May 19th, 2025 to perform in the Disneyland Resorts and California Adventure.
Second.
9E, resolution regarding out-of-state trip request high school band choir has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 9F, resolution regarding out-of-state trip request Turner Elementary.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the out-of-state travel request for the Turner Elementary fourth grade field trip to Fort Vancouver in Washington State on May 28th.
Second.
9F, resolution regarding out-of-state trip request Turner Elementary has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 10, future agenda items. Mr. Drill.
Yep, just a reminder that the budget committee will happen in May. Scott has already presented to you the process, the timeline. So if it goes the way it has gone in the past, we will have a budget committee meeting probably starting at 5 o'clock. At the May meeting. We'll start at 5, hopefully be done by 6:45, adjourn. And because we not only have the 5 of you, but we also have our 5 budget committee members, right, for a total of 10. We go through that process, we take an adjournment, we come back over here. I think that's what we're going to do, right? And we're going to have our regular board meeting here at 7 o'clock. So be thinking about that process as we go forward. And then secondarily, while Mr. Rasmussen is not here tonight, I'm sure he'll start reminding you about graduation. So get to be up on the stage out on Cougar Field, rain or shine, and you'll be presenting diplomas to the high school seniors. And I also believe in May, we have the valedictorians coming as well. So it's going to be a busy May meeting, right? So they will come with their parents, right? Get a chance to take a quick break, have some cake, and we'll come back to the meeting. So it's going to be planned for a longer meeting for sure in May.
That was good.
Okay, that's all I've got.
Anything from the board? Nope, nothing. All right, we're good. Thanks, everybody. Meeting adjourned.
We are important. We
what is the Panther Pack?
Panther Pack to me is where something we go together and we help our school do other things to make our school even better with how it is. A team that works together to try to fix problems. I love Panther Pack because you can help people and you can have a bunch of fun.
I love Panther Pack because we get to help people in our school community and we get to come to Panther Packs almost every Thursday and see our buddies.
I love Panther Pack because it's a place where I can help others and others can get the help they need and we can figure out problems to solve.
What do you like most about Panther Pack?
I like to help at the assemblies. I love Panther Pack because it's a fun place and we get to learn some, like in class, and we get to help out other people and we get to have snack and we get to figure out problems in the school that we can help.
What does Panther Pack mean to you?
Panther Pack means a lot to me. Like, Panther Pack means helping, being a leader, and figuring out problems that the school hasn't figured out, and like helping people. So that's my answer. Panther Pack means to me like being a leader and helping out our school.